Storyboard and Twitter present Best of Tweets, brands leading the way.
Hello and welcome to this special episode. You're watching Storyboard and Twitter presents the year-end special with the best of tweets, brands leading the way. I'm Megha Vishwanath. I think it would be fair to say that Twitter over the years has been used to assess what's happening in the world and what people are talking about. It's almost like a sentiment checker for the world. Over the years, not just individuals but brands across multiple categories, both traditional and new age, have started leveraging Twitter's ad offerings to influence their strength and presence amongst their users. This year, as businesses pivoted to digital-first approaches and social campaigns became an absolute necessity, Twitter emerged as one of the go-to partners for new launches or to spread a word for brands all across. The constraints of 2020 encouraged these players to be more creative, thoughtful and personal, resulting in moving beyond their targeted campaigns and opening the doors to the masses, recording new trends and breaking all brand barriers. As we wrap up 2020, let's look back at some of the brands and campaigns that stood out this year and made a difference. Joining me right now to decode all of this is Rishabh Sharma, head Twitter Next India. Rishabh, let me welcome you on. As I said, this has been an exceptional year for brands all across. Talk to us about some of the highlights, some of the differences that stood out for you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here, Megha. Like you perfectly summarized, this has been a year where we have seen creativity thrive under restriction and constraints, right? When I look back at the whole year and think about highlights, the first thing that emerged to us is just how brands and businesses have pivoted, right? Or probably all of us as teams that are working in collaboration with whether marketers or media or creative agencies alike, right? If I were to segment into these three things, we have seen brands first and foremost really think about their customers, their employees. They've thought about how they can make a difference to the society more than ever, right? This year has been that. This year has been filled with hope and gratitude. And all of us as various users and customers of one or the other brand, right? We've all sort of really sought after the normal and actually looked up to brands, probably to really build that connection, build that trust. So that has been key. And lastly, how brands have just informed, and not just informed, how some of the brands have entertained, because we wanted to have conversations beyond the pandemic. So one of the biggest highlights, what we have seen is just the agility of various brands, some of the brands that we will actually cover today, and actually just go and see how thoughtful, personal, and creative every team has been, considering the challenges that were thrown by the pandemic this year.
Since we're talking to you on this Best of Tweets episode, I know that you have on your end managed to identify campaigns that stood out across multiple categories. Talk to us about how you identified what those categories were supposed to be and how did you pick which campaigns stood out. Take us behind the scenes and the process behind selecting the Best of Tweets.
Yeah, we'd love to. I think we've been doing this fairly for a few years now, and every year we've looked to evolve. At the year end, when we look at some of the campaigns and some of the message that we saw happen on timeline, and actually people on Twitter really come about to speak about that, organically engage and really celebrate those messages, we've looked at various criteria, right? A few years back, we started from looking at what we would call as media impact, right? Some of the metrics which are really important for any marketer, how those metrics were really delivered on on the service that is Twitter, right? As we moved on, what we've done is to truly depict the impact every marketing campaign can have on Twitter. What we've looked at is whether there has been a very integral insight, right? Has the campaigner or the marketing team leveraged on an existing behavior, or have they tried to start a conversation that is quite meaningful? Beyond that, has the impact been just on Twitter, or it has moved beyond the app that is Twitter? When you look at those criteria, what emerges is really campaigns across a slew of categories that can truly depict some of the campaigns that we will like to remember, right? Especially in a year that is not being remembered for many years.
Yeah.
This year we've evolved. When we say Best of Tweets leading the way, we wanted to look at messages and brands that have brought us together as a community virtually, whether it's through sports, whether it's through entertainment, whether it is actually to stand up for a cause, make a meaningful difference, or whether it's just being a great voice and a voice as we would look and call a friendly voice on the timeline. So that is what we've done. We've evolved. We want to give gratitude to those messages, those campaigns that have really brought us as a country together in a time where we really needed hope and gratitude more than any other year.
All right, Rishabh, let's not keep our viewers waiting any longer. And of course, we've been talking about the process. And now let's go ahead and quickly unveil all the brand categories for the Best of Tweets 2020. Those were the brand categories for the Best of Tweets 2020. Let me bring back Rishabh in. Rishabh, of course, you mentioned that this is something that you've been doing year after year. But I can see some of the categories that weren't there before or probably could not have existed before. So talk to us about some, 2020 special categories that you had to create, keeping in mind everything that went on this year.
Absolutely, Megha. Like you said, and we spoke about almost every brand and every team had evolved. So we did. We also had to really look and really represent the categories that were reflective of the year that was. Some of the categories and some of the messages that we really wanted to segment and look really deep into were messages that were beyond just purpose, right? While the conversation has been a lot around the pandemic, while there were many campaigns that spoke and really represented how they can make a meaningful difference to the society, we wanted to first start from what you would call as just celebrating us as a culture, right? What were the conversations that were really true to culture? What were some of the trends that were emerging? And if there was a brand that really touched and connected with that, so there's a category that will speak to that, a campaign that best connected with culture. More importantly, going beyond that, it was about in a world where we were physically distant, and in India where we actually thrive on that connection, right? Brands that really brought us together socially, right? Yet being distant. And sports is a great lever.
Yeah.
Nothing unites us more than sports. So we've looked at campaigns that really brought us under that one virtual roof of stadium where we could all probably roar together. Going beyond sports, we've consumed entertainment more than ever before. We've been on screens more than ever before, right? The brand that really celebrated our appetite of entertainment gave us probably reason to be on our couches and just tweet together. So these are some of the categories that have emerged this year.
Yeah.
We wanted to sort of celebrate that and truly depict the year that has really thrived on creativity under restrictions.
Okay. Rishabh, let me now ask you, what is the larger piece that you're hoping to achieve by not only setting these categories, but also identifying brands and probably giving them or letting them know that, hey, here's what's worked, here's what did not. And I know that you do that all around the year. But what is the larger mission here that Twitter is hoping to achieve by helping your partners identify, the success formula?
One of our larger aims with Best of Tweets that is leading the way and looking at a reflection of the year is actually to inspire and also educate marketers at large about how integrally Twitter could be used when it comes to their marketing objectives. And not just that, also to celebrate some of the great work, because we've seen multiple campaigns emerge, right? And it is important to really look back and see the impact they have made and impact they've delivered, which probably has transcended the boundaries of Twitter service.
All right, Rishabh, thank you so much for sharing those details with us. Now, I wouldn't want to keep our viewers waiting any longer. And of course, all the brands and their teams who are watching this episode, let's now quickly shift focus to find out who stood out in each of the categories that we have been discussing so far. Let the winners be announced.
The brand that took a stand and connected with society in an authentic way.
Well, while several business sectors were hurting during the nationwide lockdown due to COVID-19 pandemic, small-scale vendors across the country were the worst hit. It was pretty much around this time that Axis Bank launched a campaign called Reverse the Khata for encouraging people to come forward and support those in need as the country was gearing up to reopen and unlock in phases. It stemmed from a simple yet desi insight. A khata, as all of us know, is a long-standing relationship built on trust between a user and a vendor.
कितनी बार कहा है खाते में लिख दो वो अनगिनत कटिंग चाय वो डिनर के बाद वाले कई
Before I actually get into the insight, I'd like to share with you one simple fact. This is very unique to India, and it's a very simple, special relationship that most Indian families have with their neighborhood shop, right from the kirana store to the pan ki dukan, the chai wala, the istri wala, as we all know. And the anchor of this relationship is the Khata book, which is a running account of the credit which is taken by customers with these shopkeepers. And to our minds, this is not a transactional relationship. This is a deeply trustworthy relationship because there is a commitment that you will pay the money at the end of the month. And this is very unique to the Indian context. And therefore, even the articulation of khate mein likh do is the colloquial way of expressing that trust. And therefore, we said that, this relationship between consumers and merchants have really taken a pause. And if there is a way that we can rekindle this relationship in a way that makes the brand look authentic and relevant. Average monthly remittance was around 330 crores prior to the campaign. And we expected a 5 to 7% increase in the remittance value. And this was because this was a purely digital campaign. It was not something which was running on mass media. And therefore, we felt that a 5 to 7% increase in the value is a good number to aim for. But we were surprised that actually we saw a 13% increase in the average remittance value. We reached close to 375 crores immediately after the campaign launched. There were obviously the huge number of impressions, more than 85 million impressions that landed, close to 20 million views for the video on social media. But Twitter played a huge role in creating the organic buzz around the campaign. And we launched this on the evening of June 12th, and June 13th is when we woke up to complete buzz around Twitter, and it was quite delightful, I must say, because the message was really connected to people, and I thought, and Twitter being a medium which really picks up relevant messages. It's not about something that a brand's doing just for the heck of it. But this, I think, had a feeling of authenticity around it. I believe if there is something which is authentic and fresh, then the medium really takes over. And I say this because I genuinely believe that brands can be a force for good. And to have competition like Kotak Mahindra Bank sharing this message further on their social media page, and that too through Twitter, is really a great way for brands to show solidarity.
Brand that connected with an existing community on Twitter.
This was the year for brands to think out of the box, to be creative and reimagine how they can go about new product launches. South Korean tech giant Samsung did just that. They decided to mix things up and launched a BTS-branded Galaxy 20 Plus. While Samsung has done special edition devices in the past, they decided this time to tap into the massive K-pop and BTS fandom on Twitter. This carefully targeted approach not only reached its audiences, but also had them glued through Twitter timelines throughout the launch, through promoted tweets, custom BTS quizzes, and with creatives featuring various members of the band.
This was the Galaxy S20 Plus BTS edition and the Galaxy Buds Plus BTS edition we launched earlier in the year. These products are designed specially for the BTS fans. They have an interesting engraving of a purple heart that connects with BTS and their fans. At a global level, Samsung and BTS have common ethos, and they actually resonate with Samsung fans here in India. We've been watching this wave of K-pop growing so phenomenally here in India. And when we started catching on the pulse of what's happening on K-pop and BTS in India, we realized there were amazing conversations happening on the Twitter platform, and we wanted to leverage that. We wanted to be able to talk to our consumers through the platform. We know our consumers are young millennials. They love to talk and express themselves. They're looking for bold statements. They're also looking for distinctive ways of connecting with their music icons. And the interesting insight that we gathered is that they love to know fun facts about their music icons and also collect memorabilia. It just gave us good ammunition to really work on a creative concept where we said we will put out an absolutely engaging format of a quiz on Twitter, where the BTS fans would have an opportunity to not just test their knowledge about the BTS icons, but also, showcase their fandom and flaunt their score. And interestingly, this became a campaign that clocked us nearly 1 million engagement and the highest ever engagement rate we've seen on the platform. This was supported by a paid media campaign, which was targeted for people's interest and affinities and also passion points.
Brand that kept us entertained both on TV and Twitter.
Online video consumption has seen a massive growth in the last few months as the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown forced all of us to be indoors and restricted all social activities, being going to work or meeting friends, dining out, or even catching up on a movie in the theatres. OTT brands looked at this crisis as an opportunity and decided to try and recreate a similar experience by collaborating and joining forces with platforms like Twitter to bring its fans together. One such player was Amazon Prime Video. Together, they got fans counting down minutes towards the highly anticipated launch of its show Mirzapur Season 2 and organized a watch party on Twitter. Post that one event, Amazon did not leave it at just that. They decided to leverage these conversations amongst fans around the event and continued to ride on that momentum intelligently. All this led Amazon Prime to become the best video to create a connection to the couch and made it the brand that kept us entertained both on Twitter and via our devices.
Hello guys, welcome to the Mirzapur watch party. काफी excited हूँ मैं आज.
We launched season 1 of Mirzapur in late 2018. That was the first season, and the love the show's been, the show's built up over the last 2 years has been incredible. So, platforms like Twitter, have been awash with, fans asking us MS2W as the short form for Mirzapur season 2 when, and we kind of took that and we started using it ourselves. So I think it was a fantastic show that obviously built a huge community of fans. So as we're getting up for season 2, we were really keen to make this something that fans can enjoy together. One of the ideas that really we found compelling was working with Twitter on putting together this Mirzapur watch party, leading up to the launch of season 2. So it was a fantastic idea that was really well executed by teams across, and yeah, I'm super excited that fans have loved it. The big input for us, honestly, has been being able to listen to our fans, fans of the show and fans of the service, because some of our best ideas actually end up coming in from there. So the watch party, for example, is a classic idea of how we realized that the launch of season 2 would be a really good occasion to celebrate with our fans. Right? Yeah. So we wanted to build an experience that brought alive that sense of community that's built around, Mirzapur. And, as I said, we built out an entire elaborate experience on Twitter leading up to the launch. We had some fantastic stand-up talent. We had influencers. We had fans participating. We had an event page. Fans were tweeting their memories from season 1, fan theories, what they're going to be, what they're most excited about season 2. So it really it was great to see all of that come together. We recently, announced this that we have already greenlit season 3 of Mirzapur. So I can expect very soon MS3Ws to start trending on Twitter as fans ask us when the next season is going to come up. I think you're absolutely right. I think this has really set a bar for how we can, engage with fans, really continue to foster this community. And even outside of Mirzapur, we've actually been able to do this, this whole virtual community building initiatives across a bunch of shows. For example, with Bandish Bandits, right?
Yeah.
Recently that we launched, where we saw, we did an entire virtual music concert. So I think while the the pandemic has been obviously unfortunate, I think it has helped us ask ourselves what are the ways we can continue to engage with our customers and fans. This was one instance where working with the Twitter team, I think we were able to come up with some ideas that were truly unique and delightful. So lots more across the board that's lined up.
A brand that made use of the Twitter ecosystem and engaged with the audience.
Congratulations to Cred, first and foremost. I think we've all heard download Cred multiple times now. We've seen this conversation really evolve organically on the service, so this was fairly an easy choice for us. Some of the things I would really want to call out around the campaign that we saw Cred was while we've seen the commercials across all touch points, what really stood out for us as a Twitter team is to see how they've used both their ecosystem that was taking part and also the people that represent the brand, right? Some of the celebrities that you've seen featured in the commercials and the way they have shown the exaggeration of the celebrities, they actually use their own voices. Those celebrities actually tweeted the campaign out. Some of the celebrities weren't even on Twitter, and they actually launched that with their first ever tweet. The native use of the service was something that really, really inspired us. And like I said, the face of the brand and the people that really represent the brand were actually themselves driving that conversation and engaging.
With that, it's time for us to slip into a quick break. But on the other side, we continue to look at the year gone by with the Best of Tweets 2020. Don't go anywhere. We have lots coming up for you.
Storyboard and Twitter present Best of Tweets, brands leading the way.